Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Morning. Friday morning. This is the best day of the week for some people. It is one of the best days of our week because this is the day we wrap up all the synthesis. We try to take stock of what we learned, and we try to focus on where we go next, what the actions will be, and what the priorities will be. So let me just do a very small process introduction again, just to remind you where we came from. We started off on Monday with all those challenges, and we had people who responded to the challenges. Those challenges have been kind of recurring through the week. We heard from the next generation, or everyone's this generation, but the emerging generation, the next generation, what they were thinking. On day 2, we dived into the different regions. We heard, I think we had 7 presentations from the different regions. And then we had action network meetings. And on both of those days, we had those nice parallel sessions. Wednesday was field visits. We had a very nice feedback yesterday. I think it was Nancy and Rogerio who talked about biomass all the time. It was this kind of biomass love affair you guys have been having. So that was very nice. I hadn't realized that biomass was so exciting, but that's what we learned from the field trips. Yesterday, we also had the policy forum, and we had the action network presentations, and we had some parallel sessions, and we had a very nice dinner here last night. So today, we're really going to try and do a synthesis piece. From now till coffee, we're going to have some synthesis, and Nancy, I think, is going to present us a kind of a review of the whole week. She had to leave the dinner early to make sure she could do the review for us. So Nancy, we really appreciate that extra work that you're taking to help us with that. And we're going to have the review from the academic and research cluster, which is a tradition in the global agenda, that they always do the synthesis, and we love them for that. And we've also, this time, we've asked the next generation group to also give us a bit of a perspective, because they came in. This is something of a novelty for the global agenda. You've been engaged from the first day. We brought you in all the way through, and we wanted to also get your take. So Helena has prepared a synthesis piece together with the colleagues. So those will be the 2 synthesis pieces before the break. We're going to do a little bit of a kind of an exercise together to just double check that we are all happy. We haven't missed any key points, and we're going to use flip charts and small groups. Then we're going to take a break. As we do that reflection, we have a group of people on Zoom, we hope, and they will also do a similar reflection. After the break, you're going to hear about this communiqué. Shirley will introduce the communiqué and what it is and what it is for and why it is. We're going to have a piece around commitments. Yeah, it's nice to come here and we all say we have to do A, B, C, D, and we have to reduce greenhouse gases, we have to feed the whole world, we have to improve soil health, so all those great things. But how do we do that? What are those commitments? So we can talk about commitments, and then we do a closing at 12 o'clock, and we have a nice lunch together. And then this afternoon, the guiding group of the Global Agenda will meet in this room. And that's a meeting of members of the guiding group plus observers of the guiding group. So that's a smaller group. Many of us will be leaving today. So the hotel have said, if you are leaving today, even this afternoon, you can check out until 12:30. That's a bit later than the normal times. So you have time to stay here. There's no excuse to run off to your room to pay a bill. You should be here until 12:30. Don't forget the taxi sharing. Juliana, I can see as a list. So that's happening. She also has certificates of attendance. And Fritz advised me this morning that he does not want to take the posters back to his living room. I thought his living room would be, nice to have a lot of posters at home in Switzerland. So he will burn them if you do not take them, yeah? Or he will destroy. He said he used the word destroy. So if you do not take your poster, I don't think you're allowed to take somebody else's poster, Fritz, right? You can only take your own poster with you. Yes, you take your own poster, and then anything that's left gets destroyed. Good. So those are the announcements. So what I'd like to do, really without more ado, is we just go straight in, and I think we're going to hear from Nancy, we're going to hear from Helena, and then we're going to do a little bit of a conversation ourselves. So Nancy, would you want to come up? And we need the Nancy slides, please. Nancy is, I think, except for me, I think you've been up the most times on this. You and I are like the heaviest users of this podium. Maybe Shirley's been as a competitor with us, but I think you're getting there. You get the prize for most times climbing the stairs.
So we need to change that.
We need to change that. Okay, over to you. Your slide should be coming. Here is your zapper. About 20 minutes, something like that?
I don't know. I didn't try it, so we will see. Okay, so as Peter said, I was entrusted with this challenging task to give a synthesis of this week. Of course, with the support also from colleagues, especially colleagues who took notes during parallel sessions. So this week we heard a lot about beer making. We know the theory, or we got to know about the theory of doing it. We tasted beer, but something we didn't do is to learn about the chemistry of whiskey. And Ireland is well known for its whiskey as well. Sorry, Peter, for the Scots, but this is a fact. And I believe, as far as I understood, that the whiskey process is different from the beer process in one specific way, or aspect is the distillation process. And this is what I was supposed to do for you all, to distill the material from the whole week. I'm not sure I'm still perfectly to that process. Sometimes I have the feeling I'm still in the fermentation process, but we will see. So bear with me if there are a bit big chunks of food in my distilled product. Before we enter into the different days and the outcome of these days, let me start with the slide that Eduardo showed yesterday. And I thought this is actually a very important slide for an opening of a synthesis section, because it gives the frame in which we all work for Gazel. And this frame is that Gazel, or these principles, Gazel's principles, Gazel is open and voluntary. It is inclusive and consensual. It is change-oriented. It is based on evidence and knowledge and facts. It respects the diversity of views. And it is aligned with the SDGs and also with these 4 sustainability domains. And I think this is very important to keep this in mind. Sometimes the SDGs are a bit in the back, but they are here, and they are actually the frame for all actions which are taken by Gazel. So when we start with the first day on Monday, that was the day to set the scene with the official opening, and you see here the different people who set the scene on that day. So of course our chair and Tanawa Tiensin from the FAO, but also people from Ireland, invited people from Ireland. And setting the scene was actually focusing on a few big areas. So one area is, of course, the area of game-changing, or whatever is changing the game at the moment. So, of course, there is climate change. This has been going for a while, and it will not get better in the near future. But this is where everything is striving to counter climate change, to mitigate, to adapt, etc. Of course, the 2 other game changers, the COVID crisis and the war in Ukraine, these have been changing our ways of working in the last 2 years. There are also other factors and other actors of change. These are the consumers. We sometimes talk about them. We are all consumers. So these are definitely important actors. There are also citizens, and consumers, in my view, are not the same as citizens. You may vote with one hand and then pay with another one, and that sometimes or often makes a big difference. There is also the fact that many statements are actually not based on facts. We could call them fake news, to make it short. So these are actually also factors of change. And we've seen that, for example, with the presentation. Within this frame of change, game changers, we have expectation from the gazelle, and this expectation is to walk the talk. So that was clear. And we do not talk anymore from farm to fork, but we talk now from soil to society. And this really reflects this food system approach. And you can see that it can get a bit crowded with so many expectations from the livestock farmers and the livestock community, that you have a lot of expectation. Livestock has to be economic, it has to be climate friendly, it has to respond to consumers, it has to respond to citizens' expectation, etc. So these are all challenges we've been talking about this week. This slide is not new to the people who attended the whole week, but I believe there are some people who are here for the first time, so I will still go quickly through them. So during this official opening, a few points, important points were stressed. So one of the points is the fact that multi-stakeholder partnerships are actually crucial to work across food systems. Food systems are complex, and you can't just tackle these issues being alone. What has been also mentioned is that political priority should be given to food and nutrition security, and this must increase at national, regional, but also international level. So this aspect of food security should not be overlooked. An interesting point which was mentioned is that there are gaps still between suppliers' demand for sustainability and buyers' demand for sustainability and what suppliers can offer at the moment, in some context at least. And these gaps should actually also be seen as opportunities. So not always see the negative side of it, but see this is an opportunity for change and also to make potentially profit out of these current gaps. There is a need to share best practices globally, and this goes in line with this point about multi-stakeholder partnerships. And something which will come a few times again in my slides is the crucial need for facts, for evidence-based and unbiased information and results. So that was already expressed during the opening day. And another area of potential improvement is how to communicate better fact-based evidence. So we will also come back a few times on these. Still the first day we had an interactive session about challenging livestock, so global actions for sustainable food systems. And it was opened by Jessica Fanzo from Johns Hopkins University, who gave a quite extensive talk about the food system approach and also the Eat Lancet report. So setting the scene for the whole week discussion and actually the global discussions. And she mentioned, among others, that this Eat Lancet report triggered quite a lively debate on inequities, that there is no fit-for-all solution, and that different problems need to be tackled differently across the world. That means that some countries need more action or differentiated action compared to others. Her speech was followed by 4 challengers who raised questions, and then for each question there was a respondent answering this question or giving his or her views to these questions. Here are a few extracts about these questions and answers. And you see, for example, gender was a point mentioned by one of the challengers, and the gender issue has been sometimes a bit neglected in the past. I will come back to this later. There has been a lot of improvement within Cummings that we feel currently globally is the fact that the 3 dimensions of sustainability are not always tackled in an equal way. There is still a lot of weight on the environmental sustainability and not enough on the social and economic dimensions. An interesting aspect which came out of this discussion was the food waste aspect, which came every now and then in the reports or discussions, which sometimes is not so brought in relation to livestock, but this is also an important issue. Okay, another session was the questions to the next generation. And here you see all of them, or most of these young people or the next generation discussing with the Tanawa Tiansin. And this group of people were asked 3 questions, and we had interactive or discussion with these 3 groups. You see these questions here. What are opportunities for the youth or the young people in livestock agriculture? How can you make these opportunities happen? What are the perspectives for these young people until 2040? So these young people, I believe, a few points is that livestock can be the solution and has to be the solution. The word which came out quite prominently was respect. Youth need to be respected, so young voices need to be respected, and it is actually the case in many countries already. Many young farmers or young people are engaged in federations, in different interest groups, and they can talk at the same level as other people with maybe more experience. And this was felt to be very important, to be able to speak at the same level. Passion, we could feel the passion of many of these young people for their profession, for their way of life. It's not only a profession, it's a way of life. But we also felt that there is a need to increase platforms for voicing their interests, voicing their worries, their priorities. These young people, they also need specific financial instruments to start a farm or to buy the farm from the family or buy outside the family. And they also need specific policies addressed to their specific group. But I'm sure you will give much more or many more details about this. So that was it in a nutshell for day 1. The day 2 was devoted to regional consultation or reports from regional consultation. Here you see the 4 different consultations which took place. So in the regions, the number of attendants and over the number of registered. You can see huge differences across the region. Some of these regional consultations were well attended, others less. But at least you see that there is a global reach from Gazelle. There is an opportunity to scale out our principles and our way of working. Of course, there is still a lot of room for improvement in terms of numbers. But considering that these regional consultations are quite recent, I think, what was it, the 3rd round, surely, of consultation, I think it's already quite an achievement. Here you see a few statements. Actually, I chose to take only the one solution for the world, which was asked from this regional consultation. You see here the ones expressed by each region. And you see that, of course, it's quite different from one region. Behind that was the whole question of technology, sometimes crazy ideas. And why not, actually? This is how everything moves forward. North America highlighted the need for sector-wide programs or the importance of sector-wide programs for sustainability, knowledge and technologies. So you see here also the importance of technologies. And also in this regional consultation, it was stressed to encourage or to give a platform for enterprising young people. So the next generation was quite prominent in that discussion. In Latin America and the Caribbean, scientific sound decisions were felt to be the solution. And of course, many of our friends working in these systems, silvopastoral systems and better grassland management, were felt to be one solution to offer to the world. And of course, this region has a huge experience in this field. East and Southeast Asia, one example of one solution was to build what I deliver food to consumers, to optimize the use of natural resources, and to curb food waste. So you see here again, food waste came out of the discussion. In Southeast Asia, there again, the next generation, but a new dimension, the pastoralists. And I believe this is also a success of Gazelle. In the past, pastoralist voices were maybe a bit overlooked. And in the last years, pastoralists came really prominently on the scene on Gazelle. And this will continue, of course, also for the year of pastoralist in 2026. Africa mentioned one example from Senegal. This, and again with pastoralists, this value chain, dairy value chain, including pastoralist systems, which seems to be very successful. This example is called Laiterie du Berger, and it's in Senegal. Eastern Europe, Central Asia, other options for solutions for the world to find the right balance between being efficient and being resilient, being traditional and modern, being profitable and environmentally friendly. So you see these trade-offs and the difficulty of what is expected actually from farming, but especially from the livestock sector. And then finally, in Western Europe, the different stakeholders found that actually there is no solution or fit-for-all solution, but solutions for farmers need to fill a certain number of criteria, and they need to be tailored to the region. They need to be simple, viable, from the economic point of view, efficient and operational. So you see some overlaps and some different preoccupations in the different regions. What came out, I think, from these, as take-home message from these regional consultation, they offer a great opportunity for Gazelle to scale out its activities and to expand its reach. Every region has its own challenges, which are very specific. Some overlap, of course, like food safety, food security, animal welfare, which is also emerging in developing countries. We've seen examples from Ethiopia. The antimicrobial resistant issue, which is actually a global concern. The need to reduce livestock numbers. This is a discussion in some countries. Production cost, etc. But all the stresses, they are in most regions the same, and of course for all of us, the main stressor is climate change. And this is also the reason why we all collaborate together, being from different regions. What came out also is the profound need and wish to have tailor-made solutions for the regions. And locally, the technologies have to be locally adapted, otherwise they will not work. There is also a need to learn about new technologies and maybe to adapt them to the local context. And what was also mentioned is the need for global sustainability programs, which often are actually pulled by the private sector, but not always. This need to make room for the next generation, I think this is something which was felt in most regions. And the fact that there is no fit-for-all solution. And this is something we will discuss again all the time. Then on the third day, we had the field trips. We reported about that yesterday, so I will not go in extensively in that. But these two field trips, I think, mention that there are different pathways of adoption of technologies and innovations. This is also from the discussion I heard in the bus or in the different groups, that some technology which were shown are actually well known in some countries, and in other countries they are considered as new. And here you see a few examples of these technologies which are mainstreamed or being now considered as innovation in Ireland, and which are maybe new to other countries. Again, here we've seen, for example, on the dairy farm, that the technology is adapted to the local context. And one example is this spring carving, which is not possible everywhere in the world. And so it works very well for specific farms, specific farmers, specific countries or region, but it might not be the solution in others. So here, a word of caution, it's not because it works well here that it's going to work well in another place. What also happened over the whole week, or at least over 3 days, including yesterday evening, was a series of parallel technical sessions. There were 16 in total. And here I don't put the outcome of this session. I've taken a lot of notes. Many of my colleagues have taken notes. I will give them to Fritz, who is in charge of doing the final report. And if you want to know, you have to read the report. So it's a good also incentive for you to read the report. What I wanted to show with this slide, is the fact that this parallel session, they actually covered these 4 sustainability domains in quite a balanced way. And at some point, I think in the discussion, there was a concern that, for example, One Health is not represented or is not discussed anymore, or is a little bit overshadowed. And actually you see here, it was quite well integrated in this parallel sessions on the topic of animal welfare and animal health. So you see here the different parallel sessions. There were posters related to them to some extent. So I invite you to check for the main results in Fritz's report later on. These parallel sessions, some of them, they covered actually overarching themes or cross-cutting themes, so I could not attribute them to one of these sustainability domains, which is actually also the sign that we do not work only in silos, if I can say like that, on specific sustainability domains, but we also work across all of them, which is actually good. It is also the purpose of GAZL. Okay, so the day 4, yesterday, was the policy forum. And here you see the different people who contributed to this policy forum. I believe I missed somebody, Pat O'Toole, or I'm not sure. I think I missed one person, but notice later. Okay, so what came out from this policy forum was that there is a need now to take control over the narrative, to take control back over this global narrative about livestock. So far, a lot has been defensive from our side, but from the side of the livestock sector in general. And if we see the amount of messages which are absolutely not founded, not fact-based, this in a way has to stop, and we need to counterbalance that. What came also out from this discussion yesterday is that livestock is not only part of the problem, but it's actually part of the solution. And this needs to be communicated more prominently and more effectively. An interesting statement is that farmers are actually doers. We all know that. They always have adapted their practices for different reasons. Now it's because of climate change, because of pressure, because of incentives, and so on. But actually farmers are highly adaptable, and they will have to adapt in future continuously. So this is also our role, to support them as best as we can in this pathway. We need to highlight the research and the technologies which are currently adopted by farmers towards sustainability. A lot is being done. We've seen that, for example, on the dairy farm, this farmer, Dermot, and his wife, Catherine, they already use a lot of tech. Consumers, most citizens are not aware of that. What is also crucial and came out from the discussion yesterday is that data and metrics are actually crucial to move forward. We need to be able to measure things. We need to come with facts based on data, based on from other sectors. And one example was what was very strongly emphasized, and I think we are very grateful for this statement, is the statement from Ambassador Cherniak, the opportunity on livestock and gazelle. The collaboration is here, but there are a lot of opportunities to strengthen it. And this is really, it was very dense. Struck me is that apparently in products are produced in a more sustainable manner. Europe, I guess in the US it's the same, in Oceania maybe also. This is usually part of the consumers, but not all of them. So for me it was more an open question, is it really the case that all the consumers are ready to pay for more sustainability? I have my doubts, but this is an open question. What came out also is that we need to earn to listen the concerned citizens' trust. We have to earn the trust of these concerned citizens, but we have to listen to concerned citizens because they are the ones who push things forward. And that's why I made a very clear difference between citizens and consumers. Because as I mentioned, the same person being a citizen or a consumer does not always react in the same way. Technology, again, quite prominently mentioned yesterday. Some technologies are under or have been developed and they are being adopted. We've seen that in Ireland, and this is the same all over the world. But some technologies are still under development. They might be promising, but we don't know yet exactly. They are under testing. And they might offer a great opportunity for improvement, but at this stage, we do not know yet. That calls, of course, for an investment, financial investment in developing technologies and assessing their use or their usefulness. Also in the policy forum, it was stressed to have a balanced approach to the problem, and to consider these three dimensions of the sustainability, not only the environmental one. On day 4, yesterday, we had Action Network's presentation. You see here the 8 Action Networks which presented their activities and what they did over the last year. We saw that there is, of course, a huge diversity of context, species, agroecological zone networks are doing. So we've seen different paths or different steps along the research and adoption pathway. We've seen case studies, investigation being done. We've seen models being set up, validation of data of these models, publication being written, restitution workshops to beneficiaries, initiatives being taken at policy level or at government level, for example, the setup of the YAC Association. So these are all different activities that these Action Network do along the research pathway. And they are in that regard crucial for gazelle, but for the livestock sector. What has been mentioned in one of these presentations is the need or the enhancement of accuracy, transparency, comparability, and consistency of methods. This goes in line with the data and the metrics I mentioned before. What we also saw yesterday, and this is, I think, a great achievement of gazelle, is this cross-fertilization across networks, but not only across networks, also with clusters, by reviewing publications, by doing actions together and voicing concerns together across different action networks or clusters. There were a few critical point mentions or areas for improvement. There was a question raised about the difference between the action network on silvopastoral systems and closing the efficiency gap. That there is quite some overlap in that, and this might need to be addressed in future. And also something which was highlighted is the lack of diversity of livestock system represented. There was quite a strong bias on big or important systems like dairy or beef, but other systems are a little bit back, not in front of the scene. And of course, when you do not talk about the system, or you do not talk enough about the system, you don't talk about the people in the system. So there is an invisibility of some livestock keepers because we don't talk about their systems. So now I come to the conclusions of these days. And this is a question which was mentioned in one of the, I think, the forum yesterday. Where are we good at and where can we be better? So I think that Gazelle is acknowledged and respected as in its dimension of being multidimensional, consensual, inclusive. There are a lot of activities which are done at different levels, regional, international, and so on. So this is where Gazelle is good at. There was a great progress in the last years, I mentioned this already, to be more inclusive and representative. So for example, now we have this young generation on board. This is the first time that young people are so prominent in Gazelle, and I think this is really a great achievement because we've been talking for a few years about that and it worked. So now we can do the same with other groups which are not yet included or not enough. We need to still always keep an eye on the gender dimension. We need to talk about consumers. We are all consumers, but where are the representatives of the consumers associations? We need to talk about other livestock systems which are underrepresented and under livestock species, which might not play a huge role internationally, but for the community who live or which lives with these livestock species, they are often crucial, especially in terms of food security. We were talking about guinea pigs. That was a joke at the beginning, but actually it should not be a joke. And where we can be better is, I think so far we were very defensive, and that has been mentioned a few times, especially also in the policy forum. And this is especially, this is a normal reaction in face of adverse weather. And if you look at the picture here, it's even something we do physically. If there is heavy rain, like we experience in the field trip, we do like cattle. We group together, we turn the back to the rain, and we wait until it is gone. And actually, there is another way, is to face the rain and to see, okay, I cannot stop the rain, but I can adapt, or I can get ready for that, and I can be protected. And I can protect also. Environmental dimension of the sustainability, because it is about climate change, and this is a highly pressing issue. But we all know that if we put too much money, they cannot be more sustainable. There was not enough focus on the impact of climate change on the livestock. This has been criticized, or at least mentioned a few times. So there also we need to probably better document, or at least gather evidence of publications and what has been studied already on the impact of climate change on livestock. So the next steps, and that would be my last slide, these are, of course, suggestions. These are not decisions, is to move from a defensive to an offensive narrative. So offensive not in the sense of fighting with people, but we need to be more proactive and take control of the narrative. We need to bring, with our evidence-based data, with our facts, we need to bring balance in this debate, which is polarized. It's either good or bad. And we all know that it's not the case. It's always something in between. And we should not be shy to also highlight positive facts, because there are positive facts of livestock and they need to be known. We need to communicate progress based on scientific evidence, and I think we've always been doing this, but we need to continue, because this is also our strength. We need, of course, to continue providing robust evidence. This goes in line with scientific evidence. And we need to bring better balance between these three sustainability pillars. We need to make invisible livestock keepers more visible. And we need to also show the synergies between the livestock and the crop system. This is probably something also which is under reported or not visible enough. And finally, and this is on the invitation of Ambassador Castleknock, is to strengthen synergies with all the stakeholders, especially, or among others, or especially the subcommittee on livestock. So with this, I conclude with a few pictures. So the road, we've mentioned that a few times, will not be a straight road, or most of the time not a straight road, but a bendy one. We will not always have nice weather, but we will also sometimes have nice weather. It's all a question of mix and balance. And there is always hope. So we should keep this.
Wow. Thank you very, very much, Nancy. That was a tour de force. Yeah, we will be sharing this afterwards. So if you weren't able to make all the notes, we will be sharing this on. So that's tremendous. Thank you so much to you and your team. Fabulous. I think we're going to go straight on. I think Helena, Helena's going to present. You're going to come up? She's going to present on behalf. Oh, she has a friend to help her. That's also excellent. Friends to help. That's even better. So if you guys can come up, we have your slides here. So we asked the next generation, the youth, to also give us their perspective, to reflect on the whole event. So you should just be able to use the green and the red. Helena et al. Yeah.
Morning, everybody. Thanks for having us and letting us present to you this morning. So we're really excited to be here this week and to share our learnings with all of you. I'll just get right into it. I think we put this image up on slide because we think it is a good illustration of, our network of youth that was able to attend this conference. We are spread over the entire globe, and this has been a platform for us to connect, build relationships, share key learnings and knowledge, and really, make connections that we hope are going to continue on into the future. And that's been a critical and really important part of this experience here at Gassel. We discussed as a group some of the key highlights and the important things that we took out of this conference. And there's many more than 3, but this is kind of what we showed. First, the opportunity to see research and concrete research going on at Chagask and Douth and here at Gassel and the Action Networks. And it's really important, and especially key for us was the ability to see the youth involvement in the research at these research centers, the PhD students, and just seeing, the next generation giving their input and their impact to the importance of sustainable livestock systems. Next, the conference as a whole, the opportunity to see policy at a global level and to, make connections with everyone here, different perspectives from around the globe was really, really, really critical for us. And last, the opportunity to network in general has been huge, and probably one of the most important parts of our attendance here is, making connections with each of you, or many of you from around the world, and hoping to, reach out after this conference and make work and get work done, find solutions. So then along with that, we identified several challenges as well, and first, I'll speak to these really quickly. Scaling up sustainable systems. What we mean by this is just bridging the gap between science and research and on the ground, farmers, public, consumers. Next, the food waste, access to food, affordability of food, and healthy lifestyles. It's a reoccurring theme throughout the week from across the globe, and it's really important that we find solutions for these issues. The communication issue is we boil this down to we need to be telling our story. We can't have others telling our story for us. We're the ones doing the work, and we think it's really, we need to be the ones sharing our knowledge. And youth engagement and opportunities, this is down in a challenge, but I think it's been identified and shown really well here at this conference that youth, or the next generation, is critically important to the development of sustainable systems. And so our involvement, it's a challenge, but it is being addressed, and that's really encouraging to see. So that's my segment. I'm going to pass it over to Elena. She's going to continue on. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Elena. I am a PhD student and also a beef farmer from Brazil. So when we talk about sustainable livestock, we need to have in mind these three pillars: economic, environmental, and social. We need to work with the three together, and also with animal welfare. We talk about a lot this week: nature, communication, health, people, money, and food. And all of this, we have people involved. So if we want to be able to deal with people, to communicate with people, we can do sustainable livestock. So about the problem of scale-up sustainable systems, how my South American colleagues talk one of these days, we need to provide evidence, but we think we already have enough, not enough, we need to keep doing science, of course, but we have a lot of good science, good scientific facts, evidence. We need now real examples. About discussed metrics, how can we measure sustainability? This is a question that we need to work as researchers, but the other point is boost dialogue, so we are back to communication. Why do we have such good quality research, technology and data, but we are not seeing this being used at a large scale? So I think we have a huge distance between science, research, and a farm reality. And you need to build this bridge. So you ask for actions. We have a suggestion to how to scale up the sustainable livestock. Maybe trying to, each one of us in our own region, according to our own problems, try to make a systematic mappings, find potential problems, and find areas that we could bring some solutions, some technology, promote regional events in these areas, try to create a network between farmers and bring knowledge and make them share his own knowledge and share information about livestock sustainability according to our own characteristics, because we are from different countries with different realities. Then make partnerships between farm and research, trying to bring our technology, our research to the real world at real farms. And then we will be able to show the example to the others. In Brazil, we have an expression that is neighbor-wise, that is the neighbor reference. So why are you doing this? Oh, because my neighbor did and works. So if we have good examples in real life to close these gaps with more academic research. So the problem of communication, we heard a lot of this week. We need a balanced narrative, tell the real story, combat the extremism and the bad vision of the farmers to the society. We always see two opposed speeches. One, that the livestock is perfect, feed the world and no problems, and both are wrong. None of them are the reality. So we need to show the real story. I argue with my friends. We need to show Gazo to the world. All of us from the youth group, we never heard about to know what we are doing here, how many good talk and research and policies we are trying to do here. Importance of sustainability, and this probably will increase the demand for this kind of product and eventually increase the supply. And then we can have an opportunity to try to influence the market. And if we have more visibility, we have more engagement and more participation. That was another topic that we talked about a lot this week. The participation of more farmers and more youth in these conversations. So our suggestion about the communication is to improve the GAZO website, to try to bring in a clear way the plans, the actions, and maybe use the website as a place to share regional events and expand the social media. You talk about a lot the young vision about this. We need to share information about livestock, sustainable livestock. And most part of us don't read newspaper or academic paper, so we need the easy and simple information to the population, as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Just a quick research I made just to show, it's not a scientific research, so just to show how many posts we have about some subjects like No Meat Monday, more than 45 million posts. And another topic, I wrote vegetarian wrong, and even since we have a lot of posts by the subject, and about livestock sustainability, it's a huge difference. So we need to fix this. I will pass the word to Leslie now.
Hi, everybody. I'm Leslie, and I just want to thank Helena and Mitchell for starting us off very strong. That was awesome. And now I'll be kind of talking about some post-conference recommendations and what we can do from here. So first, we just want to make sure that we maintain an open communication line between us and you, between ourselves. The conversation should not end here, and we recognize that we should also continue to, maintain communication so that we can achieve these goals. If the conversation ends here, we probably won't get anywhere. Second, we can develop a youth council, some kind of framework so that we can continue youth involvement rather than just trying to recruit youth to come to meetings. We want them to be fully involved in every step of the GASL decision making, and this can be formed in a variety of different ways, whatever would work best for you. Maybe there would be one youth council that works alongside all of the pillars of GASL, or maybe there's a youth representative in all the pillars of GASL. And also, I think it's important to note that we should communicate with those youth that come on to GASL exactly what their role is, what they are expected, what is expected out of them, and how they should be participating, how involved, or what kind of opinions you want them to share. And finally, we just want to make sure that we expand our representation here at the conference. It's been enlightening to get to hear and think about different sustainability practices that are happening across the world. I learned a lot of new things this week, just as many of our youth colleagues did. But I think it's important that all regions and countries around the world are represented here so that they can speak their mind and we can learn from them as well. And then sort of less of a recommendation and more of a call to action is that you continue and expand upon this youth representation in GASL. We're very grateful that you brought us on this week, and we want to give our suggestions to make sure that this can continue. So from this week, we know that you are very passionate about involving youth in the sustainable livestock industry, but we recognize that that happens through investing in youth development. Investing in youth development organizations means that you invest in the future of this industry, in the future of yourselves, and to continue the work that you're doing. So these youth development organizations, I come from 4-H. I was also in FFA. Some of our Canadian friends come from Young Cattlemen's Association. Okay. Okay, gotcha. It's many different names, but most of us hail from youth development organizations who, as younger youth, helped us cultivate different skills, communication abilities that brought us here. We were brought here because we are involved in these youth development organizations. So continue with this program, I would suggest investing in those youth development organizations. So what exactly, how do you achieve this? And we would say for GASL as a networking community to facilitate discussions between countries with less developed organizations such as these and those with a model framework who can help develop. And it might look different in different countries, and that's okay. But some kind of development organization where youth can get involved in the livestock sector, or even just communication, learning to spread the word about livestock. And by taking this action and investing in youth development organizations across the world, you're preparing youth to speak confidently on their opinions so that, when I can get up here and speak to you because I was involved in 4-H. They can get up to you and speak because they were involved in their respective organizations and the livestock industry. So I think it's an important thing to note. Finally, we just want to say thank you. The experience and the networking that we had this week was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We're very excited to see the changes that happen across the world and also in our local communities. Last night it was mentioned that Gassel was formed almost as an experiment, and it still kind of acts as an experiment. And in any kind of experiment, you have to try something new in order to learn something. And I just want to say thank you for trying something new by bringing youth on. This might be the first time that youth were involved in Gassel, but it's not the first time that they're involved in the livestock industry. So around the world, livestock are involved. They're a huge part of the livestock industry. Where I'm from, youth in livestock are getting their parents involved. Youth are interested, and that's how you get the parents involved as well. So thank you, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
So thank you, Leslie. Helena Mitchell, fantastic. A perfect complement also to what we heard, I think, from Nancy and the crew. And you know, we've arrived at exactly 10:15, which is what the agenda said is time for coffee. So magic, I don't know how you managed that time, the four of you. It's fantastic. So everybody, why don't we take a break and we come back in 10:45. The coffee and tea is next door. It's your last chance to see the posters before they get taken away or destroyed. So grab your opportunity. Come back in 10:45 and we're going to move into the area of the communique and the commitments and the closing. So thank you so much. And maybe we get some nice music. This is our last coffee break. Okay, welcome back, everybody. If you could take your seats. It's a funny sensation when every session we have a couple more faces have slipped away. They have to catch planes and things, so we gradually get smaller. But good, we are still good quality. What we're going to do now, it's about getting on for 11. We should finish before 12:30. We're going to have, if you remember on the first day, we talked about a kind of a declaration or a communique. So we're going to have a presentation of a communique, and Shirley will lead that exercise. And then after that, we'll talk a little bit this notion of commitments, and then we come to the closing. So I don't know whether I need to, no, I don't need to do anything. Shirley's going to put her slides up, and they're coming. Over to you, Shirley, for the communique. They're organizing it. That's okay. I have more time after for that.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, thanks. Good. Thanks, Peter, and good morning, everybody. As Peter said, you'd remember that on Monday, Tom Arnold, it was actually, one of the things we, of course, realized is that we haven't had a process through the week that allows everybody to engage in preparing that kind of declaration that we would all sign up to, and it would be like a pledge or a commitment or so. But we did in any particular organization or anything, a summary of our deliberations, and while not binding, some intentions of future directions that are coming out of the meeting. And hopefully you can see those, if you like, red threads that came out even from what we heard from Nancy and from our young folks before the coffee break. So it's not a pledge, it's not intended to be something that will be assessed and measured against at this point. Maybe we do get there one day. But really to help raise the profile, emphasize that right across the livestock sector there will be more actions towards greater sustainability and a contribution to those sustainable, resilient future food systems. So use it among your constituencies to build on the rich engagement this week. Let it help you continue the discussion and share with your colleagues or even your family or whatever when you go back home. So it's rather an informal document. We had shared it among the Gazelle Guiding Group and had a little bit of input, which we've tried to incorporate, but as I'm sure everybody knows, editing by committee is not an easy process. And so it's maybe not as concrete as perhaps we had hoped when we heard it mentioned on Monday, and that's partly our fault because of the process that we didn't have. However, we still felt it was important that we put something out. So it's been largely put together with Eduardo, Dale, myself, Peter, Michael. I think those were the main people who helped us to craft this, but we've tried to use listening as well. And it's important to say, as the first point mentions here, that this is from us as the participants at this meeting, and recognizing again the superb hosting from the Government of Ireland, and reaffirming our commitment to sustainable development of the livestock sector, and an essential element of sustainable and resilient food systems. We will share this with everybody, so no need to write things down or whatever. We recognize the multiple ways that livestock enhances the lives of at least 20% of the world's population, important for livelihoods, food and nutrition security, affordable, essential nutrition in many cases, pathways for women, men, young people, as we've heard a lot about this week, to take advantage of social and economic opportunities, and bringing solutions to those environmental and public health challenges. Oh. Recognizing the role of Gazelle itself and the dialogue that we try to foster at every level, supporting policy and practice change towards sustainable development around those 4 domains that I hope everybody could wake up in the middle of the night and say those 4 domains now, but also thinking about context and regional specificities. Reaffirming that as GAZL, we work in the context of the UN Agenda 2030, other global processes, food system summit, committees of parties, etc. Not specifically calling out one or the other, but recognizing especially those big global development processes that we need to make sure sustainable livestock are part of those conversations. The point that I think came out extremely strongly through the week, the critical importance of robust and trustworthy data and evidence, as well as communicating those facts to guide and inform dialogue, as well as the policy and practice changes towards more sustainable livestock. So based on those deliberations, we're committing to extending access to balanced and nutritious sustainable diets, the choice of livestock-derived foods being part of those, promoting the application of fair and inclusive business models, opportunities, contributing to economic growth, livelihoods, employment, leaving no one behind. Fostering production management, stewardship of livestock and their products to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, in particular methane, given their impact on global warming, enhancing soil health, we heard a lot about that on the field trips, carbon sequestration, biodiversity, sustainable water use, and importantly, the point that I think was mentioned this morning as well, climate adaptation with co-benefits towards a healthier planet. Promote good standards of animal health and welfare, working in partnership, as is really fundamental to what we do, and mentioning in particular here our partnership with the FAO subcommittee on livestock and fostering that collaboration to make a bigger whole. And contributing to the science-based debates that recognizes the diversity of livestock solutions across all these different aspects of sustainable development. So that's, I told you it would be really quick. I think it aligns pretty well with what we heard before coffee. And of course, as I said, it's part of a overall communication effort. And hopefully each one of you would find that useful and beneficial, or pieces of it or whatever, as you go back to your constituencies. And I think as GAZL, and we'll need to debate this a little bit in the guiding group probably, how we can tighten some process so that we'll be able to be much more specific and crisp perhaps in future processes like this. So it's been a bit of a learning exercise, I think, for us as well, but hopefully that for you captures a lot of what we've talked about here and is something that you would also find useful. So that was all I wanted to say about that. We will circulate orders.
Just Shirley's, just Shirley's slides again, yes. We're going to hop around different presentations a little bit. So let me pop that up again just to let you know those are the piece about number 5, the data and evidence. And then maybe it's important just to, because I want to use these a little bit. We're not going to edit them. We're not going to be there. We're not going to create a committee of the whole, anything like that. I want you to just absorb a little bit what's on the screen, because we're going to spend a little bit of a conversation now talking around some of these ideas, talking about what we could do to make them happen, perhaps, or to advance all of these. So I'm going to leave it up for 1 minute. Can you guys give me a kind of 1 minute countdown? Just for myself. They don't have to put it on the screen, but then I know that everybody's read it in 1 minute. I think the interpreters, we shared that with you all as well, so I'm hoping you were able to give a nice interpretations into French and Spanish. We will produce versions in other languages, I guess, pretty soon after. Eduardo's popped out, but I guess we could quite quickly produce. Yes.
Peter, I'm a little lost on the process here. Are we going to discuss this now?
No, we're not going to review it or discuss it. I'm going to use this as a basis for an exercise where we talk among ourselves and identify things that we could bring to these different areas. I think there's a guiding group planned for this afternoon, and maybe that would be an opportunity to go more into the detail of it. We don't really have a mechanism in plenary to approve or review something like this. Oh, you want to ask a question? We can do that, yeah? Can you want to come up to the mic then?
No, I'm just shouting out. I'm just curious. Shirley, do you see that this is something we're going to use external to Castle? Externally, are we going to put a press release out about this? Or is this just something we're using to inform our own membership? What was the audience for it, really, was my question.
We're going to have, Shirley, you're going to have to use the microphone. We have people on the Zoom. So the question is, how will we use this this communique? Is it a public-facing document? Is it something we share among our own networks? Is it a press release? What is this thing?
I think, as we said, it's kind of a summary, a high-level summary of the meeting. If you would like to use that among your own constituencies in whatever way seems appropriate for you, that's good. But I don't think we're going to put it out as a formal press release from Gazelle or from this meeting. Here's we, the participants at this meeting, hosted by Ireland, as it said right at the very beginning, yeah?
Shall I take a couple more questions? There are comments, but we don't have a mechanism to vote or anything like that. Jean-Jacques?
Thank you. I have also the same question regarding the process, because we received the draft on Wednesday morning. Several of us made comments and proposals, and they are not on the screen. As far as the World Organization is involved, I cannot accept the expression good standards. There is not good standard and bad standard. The only standards or international standards or world standard, but not good standards. So that's the first point. And the second point, I made a proposal regarding One Health, and I understand it's not on the screen. So my question is, how is this paper will be validated?
Okay, let me take another question, and then maybe, let's see how we do with this.
Yeah, it's not a question, more a comment. The general topic of this MSP was really contribution of livestock to more sustainable food system. I find really these different points not enough focus on this topic, because a lot has been said during this week about how livestock can contribute more and sustainably to sustainable food system, and I think we have to look for some of these elements that has been talked about during the week and be more focused on this topic. This is my opinion.
Okay, so we're hearing some suggestions that need to be still incorporated. There's perhaps not enough the food systems piece is not there perhaps enough. The piece about standards, it's not good standards. We want the best, I guess, or the highest. I don't know what we're... Standards, okay. Just standards, not even good ones. Okay, yep, standards. Shirley, do you want to react on that? I mean, we don't really have a time or a mechanism to have a whole editorial process. It's more, maybe we collect a few comments, and then we feed the critique. Not seeing anything. So we take those 2 points, and we come back on them. It's the one about the One Health, the one about the standards, and the one about the kind of the much more clear, the food systems focus. Yep. Good. Okay. Yep. Good. Okay. Dale, did you want to add something? No?
No, I just think the point about the food systems, and I suppose what Tom Arnold would have set out at the start of the week, I think that's valid, and I think we can strengthen that.
Good. Okay. So thank you very much. Right. Can we move? You should have another slide called Nitya, and not. Yeah, I'm using it. I'm going to use this microphone. Yeah. Okay, we're going to use another slide. You should have another slide called the other one, not my one, the other one from Nitya. Just turn this one off, a new slide completely. This is... Sorry, who's back? Not mine, the other one I gave you, the other new one. 29 or 30, something like that. We've been a lot of slides moving around. There's a short one with 2 slides on it. Yeah, that's it, absolutely. Good. Okay, so what we had in mind was we start with this communique, these ideas. We've heard the points we've heard the summary this morning. So what we were talking about, and I talked about this earlier in the week, GASL has these clusters. You know, you have the research group and you have an NGO group, a private sector group, a donor group. There's different groups are these clusters. And some of those folks met on Wednesday afternoon. And what we were looking for were what are some of the things that the clusters can bring to or through GASL. And we were looking for a way, we're calling these commitments. Yeah. So given the agenda, the communique, the agenda that Shirley just talked about, what we thought was to make those happen, to actually make progress, we as individuals or we as organizations need to commit in a sense or make commitment always sounds such a heavy word, but we want to do something together. That's why we're here. Yeah, we want to collaborate, to make things happen, to turn ideas into actions. So Nitya and friends got together, and they, for the NGO side, so Nitya, I need you to come up here and maybe talk us through what's on the slide. Yeah, and I want this as a kind of a trigger for each of us. We're going to have an exercise after this, each of us to identify some things we can do for GASL, with GASL, through GASL, with each other. So Nitya, over to you. Just, you can keep it light. We don't need a scientific expose.
Okay, so this is trying to be a short summary of what happened, a discussion which happened with basically 2 clusters, the NGO cluster and the civil society cluster. We often have common interest goals, as it were. And then we had some people from the academic cluster also and the action networks also with us. So we thought it was quite a nice get, a lot of us together. So basically, we wanted to bring focus and attention to smallholder farmers, and the number 700 may not quite be right. I tried Googling, it was 1 billion. Somebody said Google's the authority. Actually, Eduardo said so. Anyway, but the voices of these small farmers are sometimes not heard. They get drowned when you have the larger voices of corporations and large farms in the more developed world. And in the livestock sector, small farmers, as the small farmers, backyard farmers, but also pastoralists and agro-pastoralists, largely depend on natural resources, availability and accessibility. So sometimes when we went on the field trip, a lot of the people from Africa and India, Nepal felt that some of the systems being practiced there were not things that they could perhaps practice back in their, in their countries. The points came from the group that small farmers have actually proven their sustainability for decades. They've existed. And the economic sustainability cannot just be measured through profitability, but they need other lenses, such as that they provide employment in a lot of countries. They also provide nutrition, especially women with backyard goats or chicken or guinea pigs we had this morning, provide nutrition, bring food to the table actually. We also talked about multi-directional communication. That's been discussed a lot in this session. And often communication doesn't happen farm to field, field to fork, whatever. Scientists to farmers, farmers to scientists, farmers to governments, governments to policies. So we need better communication. That remains a challenge, and we need better communication. Livestock do contribute to climate change, but on the other hand, smallholder farmers can also deeply be affected by climate change, and they may not have the systems or adaptation mechanisms to be able to withstand the shock of climate change. And they need support in terms of building resilience, adaptation methods, and maybe one of our colleagues spoke about just transition, which is now a fairly well-known word. And the traditional knowledge, smaller holders also have a lot of expertise, experience, and skills, but their knowledge is often not given credence or recognized, and so somehow that needs to come into the conversations and dialogue we have. So the commitment that we actually made is, along with the civil society and academic cluster, the NGO cluster would like to collect good examples of managing gracelands. I think we saw a lot of very valuable stuff yesterday, even coming out of the action networks. And many of them actually worked with pastoralists, smallholder farms, etc. So we would like to work with them, collect examples for managing grazing lands, pastures, common pool resources for grazing, which are inclusive, They value gender concerns and youth, build resilience, recognize and respect traditional knowledge, help smallhold farmers and pastoralists adapt to the threat of climate change. This is something that we feel seriously needs to be done. We would like to foster farmer-to-farmer exchange, especially in the global south, through more improved communication. We haven't spelled out what's there. And we would like to work effectively towards the International Year of Rangelands and Pastoralists, 2026. It seems like a nice goal to reach. Also with the support of other clusters, for example, the Mongolian government, and I'm sure the Swiss government too, is definitely supporting IYRP. And we also want to work with the multilateral donor and private sectors towards this. And along with this, I also realized that 2024 is the year of camelids, right? And we also have an opportunity there to work together as Gazel and along with the clusters and action networks. And we'd like to really work towards this along, take these things in partnership. Thank you, and that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Nitya. Okay, so that was a really good example, I think. I come back. Yeah, this was a really good example of where a group of people got together and we said, just sit down. They sat down for a while together in a room, and I think they had some food afterwards, some of them. To talk about what are some of the commitments we would like to do. In a sense, they're kind of taking some of the conversations we've been having here and turning that into some actions, some activities that we could really do together. And we've added the Year of Camelids on here as a potential thing. So this International Year of Rangelands and Pastoralists, that's a very big landmark coming up in 2026. A lot of people in the Gazel world have been working together to put this, and I guess that's something which, I don't know, I guess will the guiding group talk about that or something? Okay, so that would come back on the agenda. Now I saw somebody waving a hand at me. Yeah. Can you come up and I give you the mic?
Two things in the same way. First of all, well, Pablo Freire, I'm part of the social movements, pastoralists, but we have to remark, if it's necessary, we have to write it. All are in the same ship. Small, medium, and large-scale producers. So we are all, part of the solution. And the International Year of Rangelands and Pastoralists, there are medium-sized and large-sized producers that have to be part of this process. Working for this year, not expect 2026, no? To work toward this year with all the sectors. I think that it's crucial to mention sometimes that small-scale producers are not heard, as were mentioned, but there are a medium-sized sector that sometimes have more problem because small producers have the cooperation, no? Technical, financial. The big producers have money and power to solve their problems, but the medium-sized producers sometimes are alone. So we have to work with all. From our sector, we said that we have all to work together. We talk. Sometimes we have difference with large-scale producers. Don't worry. Find things that we share, we agree, and then we can solve the difference. And the International Year is an opportunity to work all the sectors together for livestock and for rangelands and pastoralists. So thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, that's a nice example. It's a good clarification. It's a good example of some of the things we're trying to do together. So what I would like to do is if you can put now my slides up. And this is the last slide you will see for the day, I think. So I'm not sure where I am on my slides. So we want to build on what we've just been hearing about. We want to try to take some of the ideas we've been talking about to try to identify. You're using the word commitments, but it's kind of actions, activities. What would we like to do alone or together? Thank you very much. So let me go on now. So what I would like to do is to do a nice exercise with all of you in the room to build this up, right? So I have created here on flip charts some places to capture some of our learnings, some of our insights, but also some of our commitments. So what I would like you to do is to join up with 2 or 3 people, yeah? And this should be a very, very noisy exercise here in the room. On Zoom, they have their own exercise. And I would like you to visit, and I'll explain in a moment, I would like you to visit each of these flip charts, yeah? Or the ones that matter to you. And there's pens there, and I'd like you to write on them. You don't have to put your name. You can choose your own language, not Gaelic, if possible. No, English or French or Spanish would be nice, yeah? Tell us about a key insight or a key lesson we picked from this week, yes? Talk to your friends, but also I'd like you to also focus on the ones you want to share. It's a giveaway, it's a gift. Yeah, we've come here to Dublin, we've had a nice conversation. What is the gift we take away that we will share? Yeah, so that's the gift that we would put into our Gazelle app. Yeah, so that's what I want you to do, but I want you to include the commitment. So, and I've organized the flip charts around those topics that are in the communique. Yeah, so this one here is the sustainable, nutritious, healthy diets and secure food. So I would like you to talk to your colleagues. And if you have a specific lesson, insight, or commitment, I want you to put it on here. Yeah? The one over there, fair, inclusive, equitable opportunities. Yes? So there's one for each. And of course, there's a something else. If you have an idea that doesn't get covered in any of these topics, if you can put it over here. So I just want to make a short exercise, 15 minutes only, yeah? But you have to do it together with some friends, yeah? They don't have to be friends. They can be people you met new today, yeah? Find some people, yeah. But find some people, new people if you want, 2 to 3 people, stand up, and I will leave the list up here. Looking for insights, lessons, commitments. Yeah? Action. Huh? Yeah, more or less, yes, I think so. I think that one's reduced GHG emissions, so that one's got out of position a bit. Yeah? I wanted to make space around the flip charts. Yes? So that's the idea. You need to stand. You should find some people and make a lot of noise, and then in 15 minutes we stop and we move into the closing. Yes? Let's do it. This is the last moment. If you want to dance, do some Irish dancing. That's possible as well. I can see Dale is moving over there. Yes? So join up with some people. You should, ideally, you should stand up. This is one of those stand-up exercises. I can see the Australians are relaxing in the middle there. We need to be, yeah. Moving. Moving. Michael Victor, we need you to join, please. Can you join with those people with you? Yeah. You should be visiting multiple stands. You should be moving around, giving us your ideas, interacting with different people. Tell us what you want to see happen. Tell us what the key points are. Bring youth onto every stand, you guys. Okay, everybody, we have 1 more minute. If you got 1 more minute for your last great idea, your last insight, 1 more minute. You spoke to Emmanuel, right? Emmanuel was talking to you about the language. He said he spoke to you.
Yes, we need to find a word that's acceptable. Because a small farmer in France is a small farmer. Obviously, very different from a small farmer. So we need to find a word that captures that.
Good. I'm hoping everybody. Eduardo, is everybody inside? Okay, thank you everybody for that that nice interaction. We've collected a lot of a very mixed bag, I think. I can see a lot of people are giving kind of like those insights and lessons that we asked for. There's some advice, but there's also some suggestions about things to do, which was exactly what we wanted. And I want to thank Nitya and her team for starting us off with those commitments from the NGO. Nitya, maybe you can share a little bit. You had the conversation with Emmanuel, I think, and he was. Do you want to come up and maybe share, give us some feedback about what that conversation was?
Yes, Emmanuel spoke to me and said that there are farmers or small farmers also in France, but the picture of a small farmer in France could be very different from a small farmer in say, maybe Peru or in India or Africa or Vietnam, but they would have similar problems faced because of in the farming system. So could we come up with a word that's acceptable north-south, in both the north and the south? So I know we have this debate about who's a pastoralist, who's a farmer, who's an agro-pastoralist. So it's something that I'm familiar, but I think it's also necessary that we collaborate and work on a platform like this, that we come up with a term which is acceptable, because all farmers would be, I mean, we need something that we find acceptable. So I would leave it to maybe the people who have the communications or something who can find the word that's good, better.
It's not to advise farmers between big and small. I don't know exactly what it means. That depends of the area, the country, etc. So for Gassel, for me, and for private sector I represent here, so not only me, but I want to push a positive action between all the farmers, without distinction, and also to make a special point on, I don't know the term of small farm. Perhaps we can find another term like small scaled farm, or I don't know exactly. FAO use also in SCL use the term small farms, but for farmers, I think we need to have all the farmers engaged in the same way to sustainability. So if only a problem of communication, we are okay on the objectives. So we need to make some attention to that, because if we are not exactly in the same attention between small and big farms, it will be a difficulty for the sector, for the farmer sector. So perhaps we can find some words or some other word or two words attached to make the good sense of that. Okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Emmanuel. Okay, thank you, Nitya. Thank you, Emmanuel. So, okay, that's that kind of ongoing dialogue. I mean, maybe we need to look across different languages for different terminology. Good. So thank you for this. We're going to collect this. We will bring this together to see what we've got. Like I said, it's a mixture of lessons and insights and recommendations and advice and ideas for things to do. And I think online they did something a little bit similar. I'm not sure how many people are there. I'm hoping that they also have something that's captured in our Google slides. So we started with we've got 3 C's. We started with the communique, and we have some good feedback on the process of the communique and the substance of the communique. So I think that will feed, I'm looking at Shirley and Eduardo, that will probably feed into the conversations of the guiding group or some other mechanism. So all those ideas. So I think if you have other comments or ideas on what you saw in the communique, you should maybe be sending an email to, I guess, is it Eduardo is the collector of email? Yeah, okay, to Eduardo. That was the C of the communique. The second C was the commitments. We have a lot of ideas here. We bring them together. We're not going to study them right now or discuss and debate. I hope you had I saw a nice mixing of people. And that's a nice way to end, in a sense, this week together, that we have a mixture of all those different pieces. And then the last part is the closing. So I think I'm handing over to Shirley, and she will lead the next. We're a little bit ahead of schedule, so you have quite a long time if you want to make long speeches. There's plenty of time.
Don't worry, folks, no long speeches. We're just going to have 3 short interventions for this closing segment. So I'm going to first invite Dale Cramond, Agricultural Inspector at the Irish Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine. And as I'm sure you know, Dale is the one who's been extremely instrumental in making all of this work, connecting us with all the officials in the ministry. And we're really happy with the way things have come together. So, Dale.
Thank you very much, Shirley. Hi, everyone. We're near the end of a long week, a successful week, I think. Certainly from my perspective. I think one of the challenges when you come up towards the end of the week is everyone has stolen your lines, and you don't want to be seen to repeat everything. And I got to last night, and no one had actually really thanked the hotel for what a fantastic job they'd done this week. But Jimmy Familri last night in his remarks, he stole that line as well. But at the same time, I do think it's important just to reiterate once again, there was a lot of hotels I could have chosen for this event, but I went with this hotel, and I think the staff, they've looked after us really well, made us all really comfortable. The food has been good, so I'd just like to give them a round of applause just to thank them for everything. When I started to get involved in Castlemore when I came back from Washington, D.C., so it was probably 2020, I started going to a couple of meetings. I was given the opportunity to speak at a couple of events. I think we got our minister involved in one of the events also. So there's a lesson in that. Be careful, because the more you get involved in something, the more chance there is that someone's going to ask you to come and host an event. So when Shirley came to me in April or May, I think it was, I didn't hesitate to say yes, because I know, what a great group this is and the great work they do. So it's been a busy few months. But it's certainly from my perspective, and I think getting feedback from some of you, this week it's been enjoyable. It's been great to work with Shirley and Eduardo and all the team in FAO, Lavinia. They made this very easy, to be honest, and I just like to acknowledge that. I want to thank the delegates yourselves for coming. You've taken time out of your busy schedules to come to Ireland this week. It would have been very easy just to sign in online. I think after the last couple of years, many of us are delighted to get out and meet people in person, because we all know the value of that. The opportunity to network and build those relationships behind the scenes, and I certainly value that opportunity this week. I think, thankfully, I think everyone kept safe and healthy this week. That doesn't include a few people that were feeling a bit poorly after drinking too much alcohol. But generally, we were, obviously, there was the risk of COVID, etc. But I don't think it's been an issue. So hopefully you all get home safely and back to your capitals. I'll just leave you with one comment, one thought. Like we all know the importance of livestock for for so many people around the world. It's in the communique. At least 20% of people globally rely on livestock for their livelihoods. And that's about 1.7 billion people. That's a lot of people in the world. You know, and everyone in this room has a role to play. Everyone in this room has some connection with the industry, whether it be in government, whether it be in private sector, whether it's in the research community. So as you go back to your capitals next week, you know, how are you going to show up for yourself next week? And more importantly, how are you going to show up for the livestock sector next week? Thank you.
Our next speaker in this short segment needs very little introduction. Thanawat, the director of FAO's Animal Production and Health Division, is also going to share his closing remarks with us. Thanawat.
Very good morning to all of you. We know that we come to the end of our talk. Thank you, Cherries, our chairs of the Global Agenda for Sustainable Development, and also the team, Eduardo and others who are joining us during this week, and also especially to all of you, and also to all staff, technical staff, translators who are supporting us. I have only 3 points, maybe 4. I'm thinking. The first one I captured from our this week conversations. And also I talked on Monday, I talked yesterday, and I repeat again today. We need to build our positive and balanced narrative, which actually our next generation repeat again. We are the one who tell story. Okay, some others would like to tell our story negatively or positively. Let them do. But we, as the sectors, we need to start telling our story, writing our narrative, and inform others. We don't need to wait any other professional communicators to tell our story. We need to start communicate by ourselves and tell stories. Because the world has changed, you don't need to have the BBC, CNN to tell story about about livestock. Because everyone can communicate via social media, and our young generations already told us we don't really spend our time to read big report. We spend our time every morning before we brush our teeth, take our mobile phone and check is there how many notifications, and you just click and you see very quickly if something you like, you forward. If something you don't like, take it away. Yep. And that's why we need to change our mindset of communications. But the professional communication will continue because we know that we have private sectors, we have other sectors that they are very good. We will keep moving our communication and visibilities of sustainable livestock transformation. We need to keep other people informed what we are doing, what we are achieving, what we are making progress. And the last, our representative from producers. We need to have a positive actions. And positive action have to come from everyone. Whatever you are, farmers, producers, researchers, international organizations. We have to bring our positive energy to transform our sectors. Because the survival of the sectors is up to us. What we are doing, what we are moving. And that's why I'm sure that we will move forward together and build our positive and balanced narrative of sustainable livestock transformation. Thank you very much.
It seems I get the last word. Oh, sorry, guys. Perhaps us as well at this point, yeah. It's been a tremendous week, I think, and I hope every one of us has found it rich and rewarding. I hope also it's a starting point for the next strides for the livestock sector and sustainability in all its diverse manifestations, and that each one of us is inspired to return to our workplaces, our colleagues, our constituencies, our families, to build on the momentum I believe we've achieved this week. I'm really thrilled that we've changed the demographic and deliberately involved the next generation folks, and would like to thank especially Liz Wedderburn, who's not here but might be online, Rogerio, Nancy and Nitya, who were instrumental in getting that going. And as we heard earlier this morning, we must continue to build on this, and I think we should have a special slot at our guiding group meeting in December to really think about the concrete things we must do in that regard. My task really now is to say thank you. And of course, this is probably the most dangerous part of all the interventions I've made, because the risk of forgetting somebody is enormous. But nevertheless, I must call out a number of folks and recognize the huge contributions that they've made, as well as each and every person. The Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine have made immense contributions. We've had the Minister of State, the Chief Inspector, the Secretary General, all participating in different parts of our meeting. Let me recognize Edwina and Dale, Carrie, and Joan, who's at the back there with us today, who've done a huge amount of the logistics and support. And Joan told me, this is the first time I've done something like this. And well, Joan, you did it really well. We've not met them, but we had Meg and Andrew from the department who've been supporting the communications. I think there were some pieces on Monday in the media, for example, so really much appreciated. We've had sponsors and supporters. We've heard from Bord Bia, from Devonish, Chagask, as well as, of course, Gazel's core donors, whose resources have enabled us to bring people from all the regions to this meeting. And that, I think, has been really important. And I know it's something that our donors have really wanted their resources to contribute to having this richness and the 40-some-odd countries and diversity that we've been able to achieve here. As Dale said, to really acknowledge the staff of the hotel, and I don't think any of them are in here, but we're making sure they know they are thanked and appreciated. They've really done a tremendous job. They were led by Niamh Whelan with Saeed and Gavin and their different teams. I found them to be falling over themselves to do whatever we asked them to do, and I'm sure that you've also had that experience. Thanks to our interpreters at the back. Maybe a hand of applause because they're right here with us. Often a thankless job, but if it doesn't work, they hear about it, and that means it's worked perfectly, so thank you very much. And the IT support team over here, led by Martin, thank you. It's worked so smoothly, except for when I throw the microphone away. We've had online about 50 people, probably each day, maybe 30 odd at sometimes, and that's been managed by our ILRI colleague, Sehai Gesau in Addis. She's been making sure that those people are engaged and involved in our conversation. So Sehai, thank you if you're online. We've had support from FAO in many guises. Thanawat, we've been privileged to have you the whole week, along with many of your team, but I know that people back in FAO have also been really important to get all those administrative things working really well. And of course, Ambassador Cherniak and Badi have been here with us, the subcommittee supporting us superbly well as well. We've had a team of young people who've been helping us throughout the week. Some days we had a group from UCD. They went home on, I think it was Tuesday, and told their friends how good it was, and so we had another group come yesterday. But we've had 3, Amy, Lucy, and Marie, who I think are here, who've been with us throughout the week. They helped make sure we didn't get lost in the mud on the field trip and things like this. Thank you so much. Really great job. And of course, the people who've really done the work is Eduardo here, Lavinia. Where's Lavinia? Lavinia, as usual, I think is hiding somewhere and has done tremendous lot to make sure in her quiet, unassuming way, as does Juliana, who's from the FAO Panama office, has really contributed hugely, just with so many of these little bits of logistics, I think, as well. Fritz, your work with the posters and parallel sessions and regions has been immense and tremendous, and we've benefited from having you as part of those of us who've worked on this as we've gone along. Thank you very much, Fritz. That's superb. And Peter, I don't know where we would have gotten to without Peter steering us through, keeping our energy up, helping us collaborate. Peter, thank you. And of course, every single one of you. You've collaborated, you've networked, you made posters and presentations, you reported, everything. It's been superb engagement, and I think almost everybody I've spoken to has highlighted that as one of the things they've really enjoyed, is engaging with other people who don't see things like they do, but together it brings such a richness to the conversation, and hopefully then to our external engagement as well. We sometimes at this point in past GASL meetings, we announce where is the next meeting going to be. We're not going to do that because we don't know. So, and then we'll be able to tell everyone, and hopefully we can have a meeting in person somewhere or other again next year. Hello? Lavinia and Juliana. There was a round of applause for you. So keep watching this space. We will be, of course, preparing a report of the meeting that you'll be able to use in whatever way it suits you, and safe travels. See you soon. Thank you.
So we're not really done because there's still lunch, yeah? So lunch is in the normal place in a little while, and I think the hotel is ready. We gave them a warning, so I think the lunch will be ready soon. Enjoy and chat. And I think all those PowerPoints and things that you saw will be shared. People were asking me about how can I get a PowerPoint. I think everything will be shared and made accessible, so don't worry. Thank you.